The lecture hall fell silent as Instructor Zarketh's crystalline form shimmered under the sterile lights of the Galactic Academy. His 3 optical sensors swept across the assembled students, young beings from a dozen different worlds, all eager to learn the sanitized history the collective preferred to teach. The Prime War ended all species, Zarketh intoned, his voice resonating through the translation nodes embedded in each student's neural interface. 5,000 cycles ago, the ancient civilizations tore reality itself apart. Nothing survived. The collective arose from the void, building civilization anew from scattered fragments and forgotten technology. Bonnie leaned back in her seat, her dark eyes narrowing. The human exchange student had been quiet for most of the semester, observing more than participating. But something about today's lecture didn't sit right with her. Beside her, Knox, the only other human in the academy, was already raising his hand. Zarketh's sensors focused on the young man. "Yes, human Knox." Knox stood, his posture relaxed but his tone sharp. "Instructor, you just said the Prime War ended all species. But if that's true, then who's telling you this? Who recorded the history? Who survived to pass down the story that nobody survived?" The question hung in the air like a detonation waiting to happen. Zarketh's form flickered. A tell that Bonnie had learned meant confusion or discomfort in his species. The archaeological records. Archaeological records require archaeologists, Bonnie interrupted, rising to her feet. Her voice carried the kind of confidence that came from generations of humans questioning everything. You can't have a historical narrative without historians. You can't have a war that ended all species and simultaneously have species that remember it happened. The other students began murmuring among themselves. A Vraltorian with purple carapace clicked his mandibles nervously. A floating essence being dimmed its luminescence. They had never questioned the narrative before. It was simply what they were taught. Zarketh's form solidified, attempting to regain control of the classroom. The collective's founding texts clearly state, texts written by whom? Knox pressed, taking a step forward. Instructor, humans have a saying. History is written by the victors. If the Prime War truly ended all species, then there are no victors. There's no one left to write anything. Bonnie pulled up her datapad, fingers flying across the holographic interface. I've been cross-referencing the collective's historical databases with human archaeological methods. There are gaps, huge gaps in the timeline. The collective supposedly emerged 300 cycles after the Prime War ended. But there's no explanation for where they came from. No origin world, no evolutionary history, just suddenly there. This is highly irregular, Zarketh said, his voice taking on a harder edge. You are challenging established academic consensus. Academic consensus built on a logical fallacy, Knox shot back. We're not being disrespectful, Instructor. We're doing exactly what you taught us to do in Week 1. Apply critical thinking to historical analysis. The classroom had erupted into full conversation now. Students from different worlds were pulling up their own datapads, checking records, comparing notes. The seed of doubt had been planted, and it was spreading like wildfire. Bonnie navigated through layers of restricted files, restrictions that human cybersecurity training had taught her to bypass with embarrassing ease. Knox, look at this. She projected a hologram into the center of the room. It showed a star map with thousands of markers, each representing a pre-prime archaeological site. But the distribution was wrong. They weren't scattered randomly across known space. They formed a pattern, a deliberate pattern that suggested coordination, survival, migration. These sites date to after the supposed extinction event, Bonnie explained, her voice rising with excitement. Someone survived the Prime War, multiple someones. And they didn't just survive, they thrived. They spread across dozens of systems, rebuilding, adapting. Knox was already pulling up genetic databases, and if we cross-reference the founding species of the collective with these archaeological sites? He paused, his expression shifting from curiosity to shock. They match. The collective's member species aren't descendants of post-war evolution. They're the direct survivors of the pre-prime civilizations. Zarketh's form was flickering rapidly now, cycling through colors that his species only displayed under extreme stress. You don't understand what you're suggesting. We're suggesting that the collective has been lying, Bonnie said flatly. The Prime War didn't end all species. It ended an era, and for some reason the collective has spent 5,000 cycles making sure nobody remembers what really happened. The instructor's voice dropped to barely a whisper, transmitted only to Bonnie and Knox's neural interfaces. Please stop, you're endangering yourselves and everyone in this room. But Knox shook his head. That's exactly why we can't stop, Instructor. Humans learned a long time ago that the most dangerous lies are the ones everyone agrees not to question. Bonnie pulled up another file, this one heavily encrypted but cracking under her persistent assault. What appeared made the entire class go silent. It was a recording, ancient but preserved, showing massive ships evacuating worlds as reality itself seemed to tear apart around them. Not extinction, exodus. The Prime War didn't kill everyone, Bonnie said softly. It scattered them. And when they regrouped, when they formed the collective, they decided that the past was too painful, too dangerous to remember. So they wrote a new history, one where nobody survived and they could all start fresh. Zarketh's form finally stabilized, and when he spoke, it was without the authority of an instructor, but with the weariness of someone carrying a heavy burden. The Collective Council will know what you've discovered within the hour. I'm required to report all challenges to the Prime narrative. Knox and Bonnie exchanged glances. They'd known the risks. Then I guess we'd better have our evidence ready, Knox said with a slight smile. Because if there's one thing humans are really good at, it's asking uncomfortable questions and not backing down until we get real answers. Bonnie nodded, already compiling their findings. The truth doesn't care about consensus, Instructor, and it definitely doesn't care about how long you've been hiding it. As security alerts began flashing on Zarketh's terminal, the two humans stood their ground surrounded by students from across the galaxy who were finally starting to question the official story. The collective had built its foundation on a comfortable lie. But humanity had arrived in the stars with an uncomfortable truth. Someone has to remember. Someone always survives to tell the story, and those humans were about to make sure that story finally got told right.